I'm saying to the guys that when I came back from Arizona, one of the highlights for me was meeting yourself and your lovely wife Marla, and you were talking about the intention stick, which I had through Matt initially. So you kind of told me a bit of the backstory, but what we've been doing here is sort of talking about overcoming blockages, beliefs, and sort of transforming that, doing a lot of work towards that. And towards the end of the week, we've been speaking about intentions. And I thought, and in my mind, I remember saying to you when we actually met, in my mind, that towards the end of this course, these guys are going back tonight. So it's perfect for them to sort of go back with just how powerful intentions can be. And some of the stories that you shared with us were just sort of mind blowing. I could have been there all day if I hadn't hiked that morning. But
so I'm sure Kevin shared with you, normally when we start sharing all the stories, we need a sleepover and a long weekend. So I just, you may be here all day. No, I'm kidding. But Kevin knows it's just all of the beautiful stories that are taking place. And I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation right now. I've been so excited. Did they arrive yet, or is it still?
No, they haven't yet, actually. So I need to go and check today, but I'm here for another week anyway. So wonderful. I'll bring them back with me if needs be.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So would you like me to share some of the backstory with the whole group here? Okay, wonderful. So, of course, I was kidding when I was sharing with all three of you. Normally, we need a sleepover and a long weekend to get through the stories, but I'll make it a little shorter for you guys. And so I'm gonna take you back. Well, if Kevin hasn't already shared with you, I've been designing jewelry around the world for almost 30 years, and all one-of-a-kind pieces, very simple to very detailed and outside the box. And we've always been about charity and kindness, even since my wife and I have been little kids. And even before we opened up our business, we always started by giving to charity. So again, it's not, well, let's open a business and make trillions of dollars. It's always set with the right intention of how we're going to be able to help others. And when we set that intention for anything we do in life, it only comes with blessings. So when we opened up our jewelry company, Addison Taylor Fine Jewelry, just over 14 years ago, after being in the wholesale diamond business for, like I say, for almost 30 years, we started off helping charities. And as my wife says, through our business, we found our purpose. And we have always been designing different collections in jewelry for other charities and organizations around the world. So I'm going to really kind of take you back about 7 years ago, where it was mine and Marla's 21-year anniversary. And I designed a beautiful pendant for her, the Tree of Life. And on the back, I engraved all four of our children's name in Hebrew with the number 21. And she said it was the most beautiful gift I had ever given her. Not because of the jewelry, but the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life, and that she got to wear all four of our children close to her heart. And she said, that's it. And I'm like, what? And she says, that's what I waited 21 years for. And I didn't get it at first, and it kind of hit me, but she said, yes, we were blessed with 4 beautiful children and health and a home and a business. But she said that 2 souls come together in this lifetime for a bigger purpose and a divine reason, and this is it. And then it hit me like that lightning bolt, and we came up with our mantra, changing the world one tree at a time, we become one. Because we all know there's no black, white, pink, yellow. There's no Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim. We're all the same. Our souls are the same. We stood together before as one, and I promise you we're going to stand together as one again very soon. And we started designing different collections with the Tree of Life on one side and different causes and charities on the other side, and necklaces and bracelets and charm bracelets and cufflinks and things like that. And then 2 years ago, we designed a collection for the Pope at the Vatican, helping all the refugee children around the world. So here a Jewish family creates a collection for the Pope. It's not about religion, people. It's about humankind and what we can do for others in this world. And then literally right after that, like that same month, the royal family in London and Windsor heard what we did and invited Marla and I with 23 other visionaries and world leaders on shifting consciousness and making change in the world for a better place. And we had no idea why we were going, but your heart and soul is like, oh my goodness, we got to go. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. So we literally picked up, flew to London, and we actually stayed and slept at the castle for 4 days, which was unheard of. You're usually there maybe for the day or maybe overnight. We're there for 4 days, and life-changing and miraculous. And it was just the one-of-ones from around the world, teachers, healers, musicians, CFO of all the embassies, NASA, just a beautiful group of collective souls. But what was interesting, Kevin, and I don't know if I remember sharing this with you or not, because I know we had so much limited time, but the very first night we arrived there, we were all having dinner and we're meeting in Vickers Hall, where Shakespeare performed the first play for Queen Elizabeth I. So, wow, just the energy in this room was off the charts, and just the history and just where we were. And they sat Marla and I at the head of the table, which was an honor. And they asked me to stand up and do blessings and prayers, which again, I'm like, okay, be in the now, be in the flow. I'm like, just stood up, and in Hebrew, I did blessings for the wine and then for the bread. And then I had everyone at the table hold hands. And I said that these next 4 days should be filled with light and love and figuring out a way we're going to heal the world. And again, you know, when we set something with that intention, again, how we can do something for others or heal the world, again, it's always with blessings. It's not what's in it for me mentality and what are we going to gain. It's selflessness. We always put everyone first, but we still have to take care of ourselves and fill ourselves back up first as well. We can't deplete ourselves, as we know. So the next 3 days, we're in meetings in Round Circle in Vickers Hall. And what was interesting, everyone's talking about the tree of life, but they didn't know it. And I'm bouncing around like, I know what to do. We just designed the collection for the Pope the month before, and I know how to make everybody sustainable. And my wife's like, settle down, fifth child. Breathe, listen. She says, let everyone speak, and then you'll bring it home at the end. And I'm like, okay, I got a little pouty, but I'm sitting on my hands basically. And what was interesting, I know Kevin's cracking up because he knows I am the fifth child. So the night before last, we're having a private tour of St. George's Cathedral where Prince Harry and Meghan were married months ago, and it was incredible. 10 o'clock at night, the energy, the history, the architecture, all the kings and queens are buried there. And at the very end of the tour, Charlotte, our tour guide, third generation, assistant to the Queen, is giving us our tour. And if you were to get out of line, she would have probably kicked your butt. And so we were very proper. And at the very end of the tour, she said to the group, I'm going to take you to the side where we do not take the public. And she brings us to these beautiful double red doors built in 1540, and it had this beautiful gold embossed imagery on each door. It's 778 years old. It's the Queen's private entrance from the castle to the cathedral. What do you think the imagery on the doors were? The tree of life on both doors. I don't know if you've seen it before, but we're like, okay, we get the message. I mean, it was just like, wow. And everyone's hair in the group were standing up. So we leave the tour and we go back to the oldest home on the castle grounds. And what time do we walk in? 11:11. of course, and we're having drinks. And the gentleman who invited us to the castle, very sweet man, his name's Pete. He's been bringing different groups to the castle since the 70s and reports directly back to the royal family. Came up to Marla and I and said, I'd love to take you both aside and share something with you. And we're like, sure, what's up? You know, we're just relaxing. And he says to Marla and I saw you arrive on Sunday and get out of your private car, and you were surrounded by this beautiful bubble of white light, which we're like, wow. And this is why we should never look at someone and judge someone because how we're dressed or how we appear. I mean, one, we're not judged. So who are we to look at someone and say, you don't look spiritual enough or you don't look religious enough? And we say, really? You can see my heart and soul to tell me who I am because how I look or act or dress. So again, just out of context, but we said, thank you. Kevin, if you were to say that to me, I would say namaste. So he said to us, last night I had a vision of your tree, and your tree encompassed the entire world. And underneath your tree, I saw hundreds, thousands of these beautiful white tents representing every person, every cause, every religion, everyone. He says, this is not a Tree of Life foundation you started. This is a Tree of Life movement. It is much bigger than you possibly could have ever dreamt or imagined. So Marla and I are like, holy shift. Because we knew in our hearts we were doing something right. And you know when you follow your heart and your soul, it's never wrong, but not of that magnitude. So we leave. We finally went to sleep that night. We were a little besides ourselves, just with, wow. So the next day, the fourth day, we're back in Vickers Hall having meetings. And again, everyone's talking about how we can heal the world and bring this world back together. And Pete finally says to my wife, Marla, I think Marla has something to share with the group. And Marla said, no. I think Scott has something to share with the group because if he doesn't get it out, his head's going to explode because I've been sitting quietly, sitting on my hands for 3 days, basically. So I said, thank you to my wife. And I start talking about what we did the month prior for the Pope's collection to help them become sustainable. It's all about unifying and raising awareness. I start talking about the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life, which I believe you all know. Could I interject there quickly? Could you? Yes. Could you quickly, just so everybody knows and everyone who watches this, can you tell us about the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life? Absolutely. I was just going to explain that. It's great. That would be another sleepover, but I'll do it in a couple of seconds. So the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life, as we know, it's not a religious symbol. It goes back to creation. It's not simply put, but it's the evolution of consciousness. It's the expansion of our souls. If we look at this, the roots going into Mother Earth, we're talking about subconscious. If we're talking about growing the trunk of the tree, we're talking about foundation, education, knowledge, and then we're branching out to unify, and we're here to grow, as we say, to the heavens above. And how I really say this is that it's not being better than anyone else in this world. It's being better than who we were yesterday. We are all here to grow and to expand. And then I start talking about, because again, I can really go deep, but we'll need another session. But then I start talking about laws of attraction, which you all know very well. Laws of attraction. What we think about, we bring about. What goes up comes down, but what we put out from our hearts comes back in. It's the third law of physics, the law of motion. So if we're putting out more kindness and gratitude and love and light and blessed and happiness and joy, only more comes back in. If we're putting out worry or stress or fear or anxiety or anger, only more of that comes back in. And what the world doesn't understand, we have the ability to shift our consciousness like that, which then leads us to this, which is the intention stick, the Tree of Life intention stick. Now, at the time, this is 2 years ago, October, Marla had just given this to me for my birthday in September. And it was still in prototype, and the packaging wasn't finished, and the words, we kept receiving the words from the download. And what I mean by the download, the messaging, again, when we quiet our minds, as we say sometimes, the bad ego and the fear, and we listen to this, we receive everything we need. So I start talking about what the vision was, which I'm going to now fast forward you to 4 years ago. And I don't even know if you know, Kevin, but I pray 3 times a day, and after morning prayer, I do meditation. And one morning, like when I'm designing jewelry, I'm sitting with someone and I just get that download. It's like, ooh, I just saw your ring, or I just saw your necklace. It comes in. It's just, again, if we quiet this, it just comes in with blessings. But one morning I see a tube, and I'm like, okay, it's a tube, nothing really special. I'm like, okay, it's a tube. A month later in the morning, I'm in meditation, and I see our tree being wrapped around the tube. And I'm like, wow, okay, something's going on. I come running out from the library. I said, Marla, I just saw our tree being wrapped around the tube. Then all of a sudden that same week, we both started seeing the same words, those downloads, those messages. And for you and your beautiful friends here, I'm going to read the words we received. And again, for that, you haven't seen this, but this is the packaging of the Tree of Life. Our oldest son, we have 4 children, but our son designed this to open up like a flower. So it's just, again, very organic. And the words we received, so I'm going to read them to you. But again, no, by chance, we ended up receiving 22 words. 22 words, 1111, by the way. Again, no coincidences. 22 words in the Hebrew alphabet. There are 22 pyramids in the world. There are 22 chromosomes between male and female. The 23rd chromosome separates us. On and on and on. Our anniversary is December 22nd. So again, no coincidences that it happened to be a spiritual number of 22. But I'm going to read these to you, and I know, Kevin, as you already know, you'll feel the world. You'll feel these words. Believe, faith, gratitude, mindful, be, let it be, love, light, blessed, peace, kindness, compassion, success, knowledge, trust, spiritual, happiness, courage, laugh and joy, inspire, consciousness, and the 2 most important, even though these are all important, health and oneness. And Marla, going back almost 4 years ago, had a very powerful vision. Coming from pure love and pure intention, would sweep the world like a beautiful tsunami. That everyone in the world would be wearing this in every language and in Braille. And we were told, we work with many spiritual leaders around the world and religious leaders around the world, that coming soon in every language in Braille, as I said, we're all going to insert the word oneness at the same time. What the world doesn't understand, we don't need to die or transition to go to heaven. It's all around us, wherever we are. It's how we choose to see this world, and no matter where we're at, that's heaven. But it also could be the opposite for those and how we're looking at things in life. Not my quote, but they say, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And it's also heaven's within us all. But this world tends to see, I don't like this about you and you and you, and I'm blaming you and I'm blaming you and I'm blaming you for my life. And what they don't realize is all they're doing is looking in a mirror and reflecting back on the things they don't like about themselves. So we must see that love and that kindness in everyone. It's there. It is just covered up with all of the programming and the crap and the negativity in the media and from childhood or from parents or grandparents. We must break that cycle. That goodness is in there. And And this is what this whole gift was that we received. Again, it has nothing to do with Marla and I and in the business. This is the furthest thing from a piece of jewelry. This is what we received as a gift to share with the world. And this is what it actually goes, the mission, the purpose. The whole purpose is to unify all mankind. It's to let this entire world know that we are all the same, that we are here for the same purpose, that you're loved, that you matter, and you're just as important as anyone else in this world. But they don't even know why they're here. And this is living a life of intention. When we live a life of intention, we live a meaningful and purposeful life. And when we don't live a life of intention, it's like getting into your car without GPS or a destination. You're just driving aimlessly and not knowing where you're going. And when you get there, how do you know what you're going to do? So it goes back to now us. And this is the whole gift that we received, is that these words we received are words that start from within ourselves, because we cannot possibly give what we do not have. So if we're depleted of love or kindness or gratitude or happiness or health, how can we give that to someone else when we don't have it ourselves? And this is where I'm going to share some of the stories and some of the journey of what's really taking place, because this was just launched just over a year ago. And the hundreds and thousands of stories taking place around the world right now, we can't even keep up. And there's not one story that's the same. There's people bumping into one another on the other side of the world wearing these, airports, restaurants, just no randomness, as we say. Nothing is by chance. Everyone is being guided. But the stories, we can't keep up with the stories. We're talking about shifting of consciousness, filling themselves back up, people letting go of things they've been holding on to. We're now witnessing healing and physical healing in front of our eyes, where sickness is leaving someone's body. And I'm gonna share some of the stories and kind of bring you current and really share some powerful stories with you. So one of the first stories was, and this is just to give you and everyone that's viewing this, what we received without even words. So when we arrived back from Windsor Castle, by the way, we were honored. We received a letter from Windsor Castle and St. George's House asking if we would like to become International Leadership Fellows of Windsor Castle and St. George's House, which was an honor. So they support now everything we're doing with the Tree of Life, and we're also supporting them. So it's great to see that beautiful connection. But when we came back from the castle, all of a sudden a group reached out to us. And Kevin, I know I didn't share this story, and I very rarely share this, but this is we arrived back, and 11 days before Christmas, a group comes in. They heard what we did with the Tree of Life for the Pope's collection, and they wanted to use the Tree of Life in regards to beta testing and how to make things. It was the man was genius. So over 200 world patents. He changed the way semiconductors are made in the world. I mean, genius, very mathematical, logic-driven, scientific-minded guy. We shared the whole story, incredible meeting, they left. The next day he calls Marla and I, and he said, "You moved me, and that's not easily done. My wife's been going through MS for 13 years. She's very fond of jewelry. I'm at my wit's end to get her for Christmas. Could you please make one in rose gold like yours and your wife?" So Marla and I are looking at each other. Okay, one, it's now 10 days before Christmas, so it's crazy, busy. Two, it's still in prototype. There's no words, there's no action. Three, we don't know how much it costs because Marla surprised me, I surprised Marla with her. And four, how do you say no to that man? So we said, of course we'll get it done for you. And of course, my whole jewelry team under the bus, and we got it done Thursday night. I call him up Friday, Christmas Eve day. I said, please come in and have it. and he brought his wife with him. It's very emotional. I know she's battling MS, and surprising her, and I'm sharing the stories, and we're all crying. And in a jewelry box, in a beautiful box, because again, I hand it to him. He stands up as the tears are pouring on his face, puts it around his wife's neck, and she says within 5 seconds, "Oh my goodness, I can feel the warmth around my neck." Now we're all crying because we're witnessing a miracle, and they leave. Marla and I said, if we just reach that one person, we're good. So that was really the very first story without words, the pure seed, because you realize we're all vessels. So the very first story after the packaging came about, had one of the United States senators come in. We were working on some different projects with adult behavioral disorders in the United States, because one of the causes we support besides everything else. And he says, oh, and we about the intention stick, so we started to tell him about it. He knew about the tree of life, and he says, "Oh my goodness, may I have one?" And we're like, of course, because he's all about oneness and family and community. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal. Enough with the baloney that we're seeing in this world, and come back together as one. So we're like, of course you can have one. So as you know, Kevin, every intention stick that we ever ship out or give to someone, we always hold it in prayers with that person's name or that group's name. So for him, those words, and he put it inside his intention stick and he left. He didn't tell us what it was. The next day he calls us and says to us, "You'll never guess what happened." And we're like, what? He says to Marla and I put in the word courage and I left. He starts telling us for the last years, there's this guy, politically like a bully, talking about him and other politicians behind his back and on social media. And the senator always learned to forgive and let that go. And he hadn't seen that person well over a year. He's at a big downtown luncheon at the convention center for politics, and he notices that guy across the room. The senator gets up, walks over to him, and says, "How dare you continue to talk poorly about myself or others? If you have something to say, you say it to my face." Just like that. He said the guy melted in his chair like a dog in submission. He walked back to his table, sat down. Another senator said to him, "I don't know what just happened over there, but I felt your energy from across the room." And Marla says to the senator, "Of course, you were like the cowardly lion from The Wizard of Oz, the diploma of courage. You had this as a tool, as a reminder to speak your truth. Scientifically, our hearts put out a measurable energy that is felt within a mile radius. I know you've all walked into a room and you're like, ooh, I need to go say hi to those people. Or you're like, ooh, I need to stay the heck away from those people, because it's what we're putting out." So that was really one of the first simple stories, which was very powerful in itself. Because again, we have everything we need from within to heal. But I'm going to fast forward to you from the thousands and thousands of stories that are taking place. Again, I was saying earlier, we can't keep up, but all of a sudden we witnessed our first healing. Again, like I said, people letting go, forgiveness, sending it with love, etc., filling themselves back up, shifting of consciousness in front of our eyes. And we had a design meeting. A woman came in, and Kevin, I don't think I shared this with you, but my friend Liz comes in to design a ring. And at the very end of the session, I noticed the pain in her face. And again, this is why we all have to be present and be in the now. Everyone in this world is always in a rush and a hurry, and they're not even understanding why we're together. This taking place is a miracle. It's divine timing. There's no, but people, I've got to hurry up. I've got a meeting in 5 minutes. And they don't even understand what's taking place in front of their eyes. So this world needs to slow down and be present. So I said to her, is everything okay? And she says, no, well, my father's 81 years old. He's going through colon cancer and he doesn't want to go through chemo or radiation. And I know what that's like because I lost my mom 4 years ago to small cell lung cancer from that chemo and radiation. And Marla's mom passed from Alzheimer's. So we know what it's like to be left, but we know they're in the most beautiful place imaginable. That's not even a question. But we said to her, this is your father's journey. These are his choices, his decisions. We're not in control of our own lives, let alone someone else's. And she understood that. And of course, again, for Liz, I held her intention stick and did blessings, and she chose one word, and I came around and put it around her neck, and she started sobbing. She would tell you it was the Oprah ugly cry. She was bawling. So we came in to hold her, Marla and I, and as we're holding her, all of a sudden she started saying, it just left, it just left, it just left. Can you hear my voice? I'm speaking much clearer. It just left. So we both let go of her and we're like, what just left? And she said, the lump in my throat just left. And you see all the color come back to her face. And Marla and I are like, what lump in your throat just left? And she says, for over 2 years, I physically have had a lump in my throat the size of a golf ball. I've been to every doctor, every CAT scan, MRI. Every doctor has said the same thing. It's not cancer. We don't need to operate, but it just left. And Marla says, of course you had a lump in your throat. You were holding everything in and not speaking your truth. And Marla starts to tell her, if you could just be grateful for one or two things in your life every day and how blessed you are, wow. And she's like, oh my goodness. She starts saying, my daughter's going through some marital problems. And if she could just be grateful for one or two things every day and how, so she's not even thinking about herself. She's already thinking about, I need to help another soul. And that's where that movement comes in. So Marla, this was very powerful for both of us, but Marla, this kind of stirred her because she knew this was shifting consciousness and filling people up, but she didn't know this was going to bring physical healing. To the point, we work with many spiritual leaders around the world, and one we've worked with for decades. And we never talk about business. It's always chakras, karma, past lives, always clearing again, bettering ourselves, never business. And we never talk to her about this. But she calls her and just briefly tells her for 2 minutes about this. And she starts telling Marla, wow, what you've channeled or what you've received or you've been given was maybe from 700 or 800 years ago, from the ancient Babylon era, and that part of the world used as an ancient healing tool. And if in the wrong hands, it could have been used not for good. So she was like, wow. She comes running into my office. I'm in a huge meeting. She's like, I don't care. I need to tell you what I was just told. And I said, it's a blessing. It's a gift. We need to continue. The same day, so that's the next day, Tuesday, Liz sends us a letter. And I'm going to paraphrase this for you. Liz, the one that her lump left her throat. And she says to Marla and I, I'm writing you this letter. And she says, for months, I've been praying and asking for God's help to find those with love and compassion in their hearts to help overcome all the negativity and anger in this world. And that she's writing this letter crying, all tears of joy for the answered prayers. For, she said, and by the way, at the very end of the letter, by the way, the word I chose was be, let it be, which was incredible. Just to know that everything happens for us. Everything is a gift. We need to let things go and just be present, be in the now. Now that's Tuesday. Wednesday morning, did I tell you the story about the healing I witnessed in front of my eyes with Tony? I don't think I did. I don't think I did I? Okay, so this is very powerful. So it leads into these next stories of the synchronicity and everything. Are we okay on time?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, just want to make sure because you may want to put on your seatbelt now. So the next morning I'm in meditation And my friend Tony kept coming into my vision. And again, we have to listen to these messages. When a friend just randomly pops into our mind or a message, we have to listen because it's something we should be aware of. But he kept coming into my mind very powerfully. And Tony's been fighting Lyme disease and MS for years, which you know is horrific. And I call him in, and he had no idea about the Tree of Life. And I call him and I said, Tony, you need to come in. I have to share something with you. And he comes in, and Tony's a big, strong guy, but you know when you're not feeling well, I mean, he was gray. You could see the pain in his face. I mean, he looked like a dead, wilted flower. And I'm sharing all the stories, much more than what I'm sharing with you guys right now. And he starts to well up and cry. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Tony, I didn't mean to make you cry. And he says, no, Scott, you don't understand. The words you're speaking are verbatim from the book of Kabbalah. Now, I've never opened the book of Kabbalah to study, and Tony's not Jewish, but he says prior to moving to Arizona, he lived in LA, and for 20 years he studied at the Kabbalah Center. He's not religious, very spiritual, but genius, very scientific, mathematical, logic-driven minded person, which touched my heart when he said, I studied there for 20 years because, wow. For Tony, I held his package of the intention stick, and of course I asked for him for blessings of health and whatever else I felt he needed at that time. And he opened up his package and he put in 3 words. He didn't tell me what he chose. He told me after, but I came around and I put it around his neck and he started bawling. So I came in to hold Tony. And as I'm holding Tony, he said, it's gone. And I let go of him and I said, what's gone? And he said, all of the pain in my body just left. And you see all of the color come back to his face like a flower blooming in front of his eyes, and he's moving his arms to show me he can move his arms. Now I'm bawling because I'm witnessing a miracle in front of my eyes, and I had to sit down to compose myself. And he says to me, Scott, you don't understand. I couldn't even get out of bed this morning. I was in so much pain. I don't even like to take an ibuprofen for my pain, but something was telling me I must come in. He said, because of the words I chose to put in and your heart coming from pure love and pure intention, and you gave this to me as a gift and expected nothing in return, healed me. He said, I am the biggest skeptic in the world. I am that logic-driven, scientific, mathematical-minded guy. You have all my support. He leaves. I'm besides myself. I call my wife, Marla, to say, I don't think I understand what's going on. I just witnessed this miracle to the point I said, we need to call our rabbi. Now, we have many friends that are priests and chaplains and ministers and other rabbis or spiritual people that would say, Scott and Marla, these are some really cute stories. You need to come to church or temple or synagogue and pray, and you'll be okay. The skeptics. And what Marla says is that we do not have enough information to be a skeptic. Just because we can't see or touch or smell a miracle does not mean it's happening. So the rabbi comes in the next day, and we're telling now, by the way, we call him our rock star rabbi. I'm going to explain why. It's not your, as we say, stereotypical black hat, long bearded, heavy set, big Orthodox rabbi. Not at all. He grew up in Cape Town in Africa, played rugby his whole life, MMA fighter, ran an Ironman 3 months ago, brilliant in every religion in the world, sits with the leaders in Silicon Valley for technology and in Israel for technology, rockstar rabbi. He comes in, Marl and I are sharing all the stories now up till Tony 2 days ago. The rabbi starts to well up and cry. So we're like, oh my goodness, Rabbi, we didn't mean to make you cry. And by the way, FYI, if you can avoid making a priest or a rabbi cry, I highly recommend it. Don't make them cry. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't mean to make you cry. And he says, no, Scott, you don't understand. The words you're speaking are verbatim from the book of the Talmud. Now, the Talmud was written by very righteous and tzaddik rabbis. It's the Old Testament and the Torah, which I've never opened up. It's all in Hebrew. And he noticed this on me months ago, but he knew it wasn't a mezuzah in Judaism. But he's like, there's no way Scott could know what that is. Telling Marla and I that what you've received or what you've been given it's not 700 or 800 years old like your spiritual advisor just told you 3 days ago. This is well over 2,000 or 3,000 years old, coming from Holy Scripture. And you could see him besides himself, and he starts telling Marla and I, today in this world, right now, there's a door of good and there's a door of evil. And we all have the ability to open either one and walk through. What you've received and you've been given has opened a third smaller door that is more powerful than good and evil combined, that will heal the world. He says this is tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is a Hebrew word which means it starts from within ourselves in order to help another brother and sister, which will not only repair the soul of the world, but it'll heal the entire world and everyone within it. And what does it say in every spiritual or religious book in the world? Love your brother and your sister like you love yourself. But how can we possibly do that if we don't love ourselves first? And I'm talking unconditional love. So if I say to all of you, I love you, you know that it's true in my heart. It's not, oh, I love you, kiss, kiss, have a nice day. But unconditional love. So that's how we look at everyone in this world, as a brother and sister, without judgment, which is not easy because, again, we were not taught that way from our parents, our grandparents, because they did the best they could to do the best for us. So it's something we have to share and teach this world because they have no idea what that means. Or even to look into the mirror and say, I love you. It's not easy. So the rabbi leaves. This is where it starts getting very heavy. We start receiving numbers. So we start receiving 3999 everywhere. License plates, computer, just messages. We're like, okay. A week later, we start seeing 4999. Again, everywhere, in your face, license plates, etc. So something says, look up the spiritual meaning of 4999. And when we did, it brought up Noah and the ark and the great flood, which represented what? The cleansing of the world, the healing of the world, to give it a second chance. So we're like, okay, this is getting interesting. The next week, we start receiving or seeing everywhere 5999 in our face. Again, just everywhere. So we look up the spiritual meaning of 5999, and it says the combination of 5 and 9 repeating is an indication of sweeping changes and endings. Your angels ask you to let go of the old and know that it has served a vital and an important function during its time, but that time has now passed. Your angels want you to know that the new is about to enter your life and ask you to let go of the old and send it with love. So we said, that's it. We knew we had to make this affordable for the world. It was not about a piece of jewelry, because if this was about a piece of jewelry, it would have been $200 and it would have been about ego and greed. And yes, we would have sold millions, but that's not what it was about. We had to make it affordable for the world. So we made it $59.99. The 99 cents plants a tree in that person's honor to give back to Mother Earth. We must leave our planet in better shape than we found it. And as you know, the trees have been here since creation, and they're going to be here long after we're gone. Plus, they're alive, they communicate, they heal, they protect one another, just as all of our souls in this world are connected. We built in a percentage in all the levels, not just from the stainless, but the copper, the silver, and the gold, again, higher to help all the causes. We're helping our vets, domestic violence, adult behavioral disorder, anything to deal with children, feeding, clothing, education, shelter. We're building wells in third world countries to bring clean water into villages that have none. And I know you wouldn't know this, Kevin, or anyone here, but here in Arizona, there's this beautiful organization called Gompers. And it's adults. We don't use the word special needs. We say special interests. It's adults with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy that we actually pay them, give them a job and a purpose to do all of the packaging, so every one of these are sealed with love. And of course, it's all recyclable, sustainable, green, every little facet. So these last two stories, it gets deep. Are you guys okay? I want to make sure. I told you if we start sharing, and this is quick, by the way. So another friend comes in from Canada, and very, very good friend, very spiritual. He owns a global company, but if he were to hug you, he would receive everything about your life and also tell you what you need. Very intuitive. And he didn't know about the intention stick yet, but he knew about the tree of life. And he's like, oh my goodness, can I have one? And we're like, of course. And he says to Marla and I, after we did the blessings, I want you and Marla and myself, I'll each choose a word. And in 30 days when I'm back home in Canada, I'm going to open it up and see what you chose for me. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Because he trusted what we would choose because we would feel his energy. And by the way, he's very grounded. He's not a crier. And so Marla chose a word, I chose a word, and he chose a word. And I came around and put it around his neck. He started crying uncontrollably for 5 minutes. I had to close the door in my office. He finally composed himself and said, I was not expecting that whatsoever. That hit me to the core of my soul. He leaves, fast forward 30 days. He calls us back up. He says, okay, it's time. I'm going to open up my intention stick and see what you chose for me. But we're like, because those last stories I just shared didn't take place. It was just a couple weeks prior. So we told him, he was like, wow. Now, something very interesting that I'm going to share with you for right now. So in Kabbalah, which I didn't know until after, it's not 22 words we received. Each one of these words have 72 different interpretations. It is much more powerful than what that one word appears to. It's what you believe it may be. So, for example, success just doesn't mean monetary. It can mean success in a relationship, family, community, success for a project. A lot of people say, well, I don't see the word forgiveness on here. And that actually falls under be, let it be, or peace. So again, it's whatever that is for you. So he opens up his intention stick and he pulls out the words and he says, I knew it. Marla chose inspire for him. I chose gratitude for him, and he chose success. And he starts to tell us, for the last month, the inspiration I've been giving and receiving has been amazing. The gratitude I've had has been incredible, and success in every way has been off the charts. And all of a sudden he starts, whoa, I'm being overwhelmed by the number 2 is what he's saying to Marla and I. Like 222 kept coming into his vision. And he says, wow, as clear as day, I see you and Marla on this tremendous platform speaking to millions of people. And he starts to share, slowly people will start coming in for the intention stick. And leading up to 2 years, millions upon millions of people will start coming in for the intention stick. And he starts to tell us, it doesn't matter how religious someone is or how hard they pray or how spiritual someone is or how hard they meditate. They couldn't achieve the physical connection between their heart and soul and above. Light, the source, whatever that is to that person. He starts to share, this isn't well over 2,000 or 3,000 years old like your rabbi just told you last week. He says this is much older than that. He says this is going back to creation and on a different plane. Marla said, I don't know whether to throw up or cry because of the responsibility he just shared. Now, the next day, and again, no by chance, I had a call scheduled with my spiritual advisor for the first time. Don't forget, Marla just briefly for 2 minutes shared the story. I start sharing all the stories with her leading up to him yesterday, and it's silence on the other end of the phone, which I've never heard in all the years of studies. And then says to me, Scott, I have to ask you a very important question. May I ask this of you? And again, I've never heard that spoken to me. And I said, of course you can ask. And says to me, are you ready to receive this responsibility? Which shook me to the core. Now I'm bawling because I knew exactly what she had asked me. And I said unequivocally yes, because what do you say to that? Well, let me check my schedule and get back with you. So I said unequivocally yes, and then says to me, then I must prepare you for what's to come. And I know you know this isn't coming from lower consciousness or ego, and I'm not putting myself or my wife into this category whatsoever. But she starts to explain to me, as Moses had led the slaves and the Egyptians out of Egypt, as Jesus had healed or educated, or Mother Teresa or Gandhi, it wasn't that they were chosen, it was that they were open to receive, as they chose, as you and Marla chose this, as we are all vessels, we're all open to receive. Once we learn to get rid of everything we're holding on to. Because again, we're all vessels. We all know this. But how can we receive new blessings and goodness in our lives if we're holding on to our past? It just overflows. And what we're seeing today is that this world, these vessels are broken. And that light and goodness will also leak out. And it starts again with us to repair ourselves. It comes from within. And this is what this world doesn't understand. And this is what's taking place right now. And this is the whole purpose. This is to bring this world back together as one. This is to unify all mankind. To let everyone know, again, they do have that purpose. They do matter. They are loved. And that everyone is just as important as anyone else in this world. It's why, again, we're given our tools, our gifts, again, whether it's abundance or knowledge, or you're a superstar or a rock star, or you're making coffee. It's about the soul-to-soul connection. It's to touch another soul. It's to let that person know that they are loved and that they matter. And when you witness touching another soul and watching another person fill themselves back up or heal or let go of what they've been holding on to their whole life, that's what brings us our bliss. It's not giving a guy change or a dollar on the street or writing a check for charity, which is nice, but that comes from self-gratification and ego. But when we can touch another soul, it's priceless. But this is what this is about. And this is why this is spreading the world right now like that beautiful tsunami, because people are witnessing that change, that miracle happening in front of their eyes, and how can I help? What can I do? And so on. And it's just miraculous with and we are tipping those scales, because again, that light is going to break through all the negativity in this world. But yet we don't see that. But it's taking place in a time that is so needed. This world is going through so much, but it's why we're also having this conversation. It's divine timing. We chose to come back in this lifetime. to do what we need to do to help everyone else. Because it's not about us, it's about us collectively. And when we realize that finally why we're here, wow, it's the most incredible. Marla and I say we cannot wait to wake up each day to see what new beautiful souls are brought into our lives, to touch, to heal, to inspire, to just help them get through something. And you know everyone in this world right now is going through something. And if they're not, they're lying. I don't accept the answer when you ask someone, so how are you? And they say, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I want it because everyone else in this world seems to be going through something. But it's also why we come into one another's lives. There's no randomness. You're not at a supermarket or a store or at a gas station and someone coincidentally comes into your life. It's for a reason, and we must be present. And I'm going to share this little story. And not that, like I said, we'll be here for 9 more hours, but, and this is Kevin, while you were brought into my life. And just like you three, we're having this conversation today. It's divine timing. And it's also why we see why friends were brought into our lives 20 years ago or 40 years ago. It's for a reason. And this story is a perfect example of the synchronicity and why this is taking a place. And you see all of the dots connecting around from person to person. We can't keep up with, oh my goodness, this person, the stories, and it's going to be for another time, but I have to share this. So about 3 months ago, I'm at a place that I'm never at, and I'm talking to a friend. And a friend walks up to me and says, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, I'm just visiting. And I knew that was a message. And it's a friend I've known for 20 years, but kind of in and out of each other's lives, but always, even though when you know someone's in your life and you haven't spoken with them in a year, it's like best friends again. It's that soul-to-soul connection. So I knew it was a message, and I said, Mark, you need to come in. Marla and I have to share this with you. So he comes in the next day. It moved him so much. He said, I'd like to purchase 100 of these. I do not know who I'm going to give this to, but I know when that person comes into my life, it's going to be for that reason. I'm going to give one to them as a gift, and they're going to pay it forward and share their stories. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. So he leaves. 3 days later, he sends me, I can't even keep up with his stories, but he sends Marla and I this text. Wait for it. He says, Scott and Marla, I'm just walking out of the mental ward at Banner Hospital and was visiting a friend's 15-year-old daughter who's been struggling with issues that popped up out of nowhere this year. She is such an amazing kid, and this hit everyone as a huge surprise when she broke down. I was quietly asking her what a 15-year-old would think of an intention stick. She is not very easy to talk to and very rarely opens up, but explained to me why she needed inspiration and trust right now. As leaving, her mom came up to me crying, asking how I got her to open up. It was obviously an important way that got the daughter speaking in a way she never would have without such a strong tool. Each time I've given the intention stick, the gift has gone to me knowing I just passed along a miracle. And Marla says that every one of these has its own heartbeat. It becomes a part of you. And it's like I said, it's not even anything to do with a piece of jewelry. We say it's worn on the inside for your heart and soul. But the energy that this is putting out is affecting the room or that radius. And this is why that light and that love is being spread right now. And again, it has nothing to do with Marla and I. Again, we were just the vessels. We received this. Again, that's why we say through our business, we found our purpose. And when we're open to receive, we receive everything we need. But we live in fear. We don't trust this. And this is what we're seeing in this world. They don't want to ever believe in themselves. And if we would understand who is by our side and walking with us every day, we would live fearlessly. And if we can just get out of our own way, watch all of the miracles unfold. Because it's miraculous. We have to trust the journey. If we don't trust the journey, nothing else matters. But this world doesn't understand that word, sadly, anymore. And sorry, don't mean to go on and on. We, like I said, Kevin, we'd be here until your sun goes down. But just the beautiful stories that we're witnessing it's miraculous, and there's no words. It's just pure love and pure gratitude. Our hearts are overflowing. And I know that's also why you all four were brought into our lives, to share the message, to touch another's soul, to shift the consciousness of the world. And we are. There's no, I hope we're going to do this, or we're going to try to do this. We changed that word. People say, I hope to do this. And we say, don't use, not that hope's a bad word, even though it's in the Bible and the Torah and all the spiritual books, but we say, choose the word faith. We say, hope walks through fire, faith leaps over. Hope sometimes leaves doubt. I hope we're going to do this, or I hope to achieve this. No, faith, trust. And when we do, wow, this is what takes place. So I know you have questions, so ask. I know I've only talked for 9 hours, but I don't mean to, but I wanted to share, because once you get started, you're like, okay, wow. So
thank you so much for that. Guys, do you have any questions? No? Yeah, it was like shell top. I have a question of you, but first, thank you so much. I just wanted to honor the time and your gift of giving us your time and sharing these incredible stories. They're always inspiring to me. But even though it feels like, to me, would you mind giving, if we were to stand and maybe hold hands in a circle, would you mind giving us a blessing? Would that be?
With pleasure. And I know this is why you're here. And as you right now, I'm sure every hair on your body's standing up, because that's the energy I'm getting from you. And yes, I would be honored. And what we do, and we've done these around the world, and I'll share this, and I'm so grateful you're asking, and again, with pleasure to do that for you all. We had a friend of ours in Australia, and as we shared this story, she had asked me to choose 3 words for her. And I put them into her intention stick, and I got up and I put it around her neck on the screen, and she felt the energy, and you just watched her shift. And this is the power of intention, because again, what we put up to the universe, as you know, comes up and comes down, and we receive it. Time is linear. It's energy, and this is what we're seeing that's taking place in this world. So yes, with true pleasure and honor. And so what I would love for you to do is all hold hands, and then both of you on the end to hold the screen as I'm going to hold the monitor, and I'm going to do blessings for all of you. And also, actually, I'm going to do something very powerful, Kevin, and I don't know why it just came to me right now, but for your audience and the people that are viewing this as well, because the energy in my hands right now is just off the charts. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I want your listeners or the people that are viewing this also, whenever they see this, to hold the screen, because this is also going to be that blessing for whomever around the world is going to receive this. And with just such love and purity that I can do this. So thank you for asking. And it was a much bigger question than you asked. So I'm grateful. So I'm going to do this for everyone right now. First and foremost, that you all receive this blessing with the best of health, and with blessings of light and love and courage and strength and everything each and every one of you needs in your life right now to fill up your beautiful hearts and souls with unconditional love, which will allow you to fully heal, which will allow you to help so many more brothers and sisters heal, which will unify all mankind and bring us back together as one, so we should all see heaven on earth as it is here now. With so much love to you and everyone else who should receive this. I am so grateful, but holy shift. Did you feel that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, I'm grateful for our time, and I'm grateful, Kevin, that we had the blessing that we were brought together, and what you beautiful souls are now going to do. Again, as I say, your journeys are just beginning, but this is what this world needs to understand, because this is what's giving them their why and why they're here. And to get up each day to know we're here to share kindness and love. Whether it's not everything has to be a miracle and I need to part the Red Sea. That miracle is just smiling at someone, or opening the door, or asking, how is your day? Is everything okay? It's being present. It's just simple acts of kindness. It's that easy. And when we get off that path, which you all know, the more good we do, the more we're tested. This is that tool, that reminder to bring us home, to ground us. And I'm just, like I said, so grateful to be sharing this with you, and Kevin for allowing me to come into your home right now, or the homes of everyone viewing this right now, because it's an honor and it's with pure love. So thank you for this gift to share with even one more soul, because that's what it's about. And I promise you, we are healing the world together. But I'm also saying this to everyone I'm speaking to, because it's within you as well. You just have to reach deep down inside and know that and trust it, that you were brought here for a reason. I am that I am, right? We're all made in God, the universe, the source, the light, that image. So we're just as important. I am that I am. These words is exactly that. I am gratitude. I am love. I am happiness. I am blessed. I am health. This is what we become. And this is what the world is going to become. Because when we do come back together as one, which I know we are, and we do put the word oneness, so we are a part, again, of that collective whole, because we already are, but we're just so separated, we then see why we're actually here. And it's to continue to help and serve and touch other souls. And that's the bliss that we should always be in. Nothing should ever take us out of our bliss, right? Pure bliss and happiness always. Not if I ask you, Kevin, are you happy? And you're going to say, yes. I know that. I see you. Most people would say, yes, but I got a flat tire. But my hot water heater broke. But my aunt's sick. It's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, are you happy? And we must say yes, because, again, we must be in bliss and happiness no matter how hard we're tested. And believe me, we're tested. The more we do, that's good. Again, it shouldn't take us out of our path or our journey. And like I said, I'm just so grateful to be sharing this with all of you. You guys are glowing right now. I just see it, and it's just amazing. I'm not even looking at you, but just wow, just beaming. So, and I know the same for your beautiful viewers or whoever is seeing this, because that's what we should do, is fill ourselves back up and not live in fear, but again, live fearlessly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, my brother. Are you kidding? It's an honor. And do you have any questions now that, like I said, I only spoke for 9 or 12 hours?
I don't. I'm completely full. And as always, I'm going to go back and just sort of digest what's gone on, probably watch this again. And yeah, and then have a quick debrief with the guys as well. And yeah, that was fantastic. I knew it would be great. So thank you. It's such a great way to finish this week. So,
and it's, as we say, this is our third date. and your first dates. And I'm always here for you and your families, and so is Marla and our family. And this is what it's about. It is. We are all family, and this is what this world needs to also understand, that we are here for one another, and that's the beauty, and it's the selflessness that we should achieve, and we will, and we are. So always here for you, my brother and sisters.
Thank you.
Yes, and I know you're going to have an amazing day, and I can't wait for our next talk. And yes, again, with blessings and love and beautiful intentions for you on your journey. So I will talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Thank you very much.
Love you guys. Love you. They love you, love you, love you.